Won't be chipping those ones. It's two separate standalone computers to run each side of the main engine. There's no way you can get a chip that'd be powerful enough.
Now this one here, can you put 2 chips on it? Come on now.
No, you were just telling me how it'll get you in trouble with the power.
Yeah, we got the chip in the chopper.
Not necessarily. It's all in imagination.
It's not right.
Anything's possible.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do
Well, you guys are gonna have fresh engines. You'll be golden.
it. Yeah.
All sorts of power.
Heck, even with the blowing smoke, you can rip right through stuff like nobody's business. We put
There's
a,
one cylinder that was really bad. That was it.
yeah, we put a gallon of oil in it a day sometimes. I think. But, yeah, it's smoke and it's running like crazy out there.
And we had one that was dusted that put it on the dyno and had the horsepower, same horsepower as what it did when it was new.
Really?
Yeah. The only difference was is it smoked.
Yep, that's what it was. It's smoke,
Yep.
but it dripped right through.
Yep.
Mercedes computers work on a system where they bring the fuel to the air. So it's not like a lot of engines where you bring your fuel in and then hope your air catches up. So they will maintain the horsepower even when there's less compression because
Right.
they're making sure they're getting enough air before they
Wow.
So, yeah, I was quite surprised. We had a dusted engine and put it on the dyno. It turned out just as much horsepower as when the machine was new. So,
Well, there was no problems there.
No.
Oh, if you all want to take a seat, we'll get started here. Oh, yeah, it's the first part.
for a little bit.
Oh, except the Beavers fans. They gotta stand.
It's just a shirt I got for Christmas.
What's the first thing we do when we go to change oil?
Plug out the side. Warm up the oil.
There you go. Well, warm the oil up, runs a little, flows out of the drain tube a lot faster. The second thing you do. Has something to do with the oil filter. Open it up until the threads have released from the cap, from the base. That actually lifts that oil filter up that is holding a valve closed to keep that oil from draining out.
It sets down on a valve. You gotta get it off the valve. It allows the spring to open up and the oil to drain out. Otherwise, all this and the oil in your cooler will still be in your fresh oil.
Then open up your drain. Make sure you have 2 buckets. You only use them 5-gallon buckets. One isn't quite enough to hold the entire quantity that's in that oil pan. When you replace the filter, push the filter in by hand all the way into the filter housing. Push it all the way down to the bottom to the base. Then screw the cap on. When you screw the cap on, screw it on hand tight. You only have to turn it about a 1/16 and your torque's back. Anything tighter than that, chances are when you go to take it off, you're going to crack it because it's only a plastic cap. Forrest is going to talk about the updated oils.
All right. A lot of you guys have probably seen gumming issues. Your turbo inlet and intercooler pipes and the exhaust side of your turbo getting gummy, oil coming out of them, a little streaking in there. Your intercooler itself may have it. Well, with the amount of dust that these operate in and the closed breathing system, which we'll talk about in a little bit, you end up with a lot of recirculated oil. Well, the oils that they've been using for years in trucks, the dinosaur oils, conventional oils, the 1540s, work good in that application, but since we've moved to such a dusty harsh environment, they've had to re-engineer some of the oil. So Klaus got with Mercedes to try to remedy this issue since they were seeing quite a bit of it. And they came up with the new Mercedes 228.5 spec oil. Basically, it is a CF. You have your API certifications. You have your CF, your CJ4, and your CI4. This is a CF only oil. Your oils like your Dello, your Rotella are CF, CI4, and CJ4. Your CI4 and CJ4 specs are for engines that run EGR systems and DPF systems for emissions requirement. Those engines retain dirt and oil. They do not let the oil pass through the filter as well because they can't allow as much oil into the intake system, which will gum up the DPF. So they've developed this oil, which runs just a CF spec. It allows a lot more of the dirt to be released into the filter and allows a lot more of the oil to separate out of the air. This oil is a semi-synthetic 10W40. This is what Klaus is recommending be run in all of the choppers. The 492s, Tier 3s. So basically the electronic injection or the electronically controlled 492s and all 494s. They recommend this oil on a 250-hour interval. All right, if you're in a super dusty environment, above normal field dust or corn season where you're getting a lot of wet sludging, please recommend you drop it back down to 150 hours. It's just better for your engine, you get better cleaning, etc. But when you're cutting grass, relatively dust-free, easy 250 on this oil. Now, if you're going to continue running your Dellos, your Rotellas, conventional oils, it is imperative that the oil be run no longer than 125 hours. It will not clean as well, it will not filter as well, and it will not breathe as well as this oil. Now, on a good note, cost is very competitive for this oil. A lot of specialty oils get very expensive quickly. This oil is $17 a gallon. Our conventional 1540 is $15 a gallon. This is a competitive oil. I don't know if you guys have priced synthetics, but you're looking upwards of $20, $25 a gallon for a pure synthetic. So we'll be stocking this. Some people have asked about drum quantities. We can get 55-gallon drums of this oil if that's something for people who have multiple machines or want a supply. Highly recommend it. And we're looking forward to having some good luck cleaning up these engines with it. Any questions on the oil?
Mark said it.
Is that why these things smoke a lot more?
It can lead to the smoking because what happens is you get that gumming and it doesn't breathe as well and it can smoke all that burnt oil.
Because I've noticed that our machine smokes a lot more than what the other ones did.
Yeah, we've had a lot of issues with the oil gumming up and stuff, and hence why they developed this. Got us something to run.
And most of that smoke will cover. Mark got a Tier 4 DEF machine.
Yeah. No, he's got a urea, SCR.
Hunter.
Yeah. So out of everybody, it is most important that you run this part.
What if I run a full synthetic?
If you run a full synthetic, Klaus is going to tell you 125-hour oil intervals because you're not going to get a full synthetic that doesn't have the additives to make it a CI4 or a CJ4 oil. So you will get more burnt particulate mass. Highly recommended, especially since you're local. It's easy for you to get it.
Yep.
Definitely.
We got a way to get it into the motor faster.
We do.
Oh, awesome, you asked that question.
I spoke with you on the phone a couple weeks ago. Alrighty. Everybody's been complaining for as long as I've known about these that it's a pain to pour a quart at a time into the engine. So we did a little research and found these nifty fill tubes and caps. You guys want to walk over here? I'll show you a quick. You've all seen these mystery plugs on the side of your engine. You have them here and over on the side of all the engines. Alright? This is a quick disconnect system. Squeeze on the wide portion of the cap and pop it off. Snap this on. Now, I will warn you, the O-rings in these are one-time use. So it behooves you to buy one of these for each engine or buy one for each machine and make a mounting tab and be done. All right? Over here, you can do something like such. Just remove one bolt, make a tab. A little bit of ingenuity, it'll alleviate a lot of issues. You're not going to have the burping that you do up top, getting it flowing over, as long as you pop your dipstick. Pop your dipstick out, you can pour out a 5-gallon bucket into a funnel in there. So, we are offering these now. Got part numbers to order them and everything. Got a sheet over here with all those part numbers, as well as the parts guys are aware of these. Make your oil changes a little simpler, for sure.
Yeah.
The other nice thing about it is a lot of you guys are probably changing it at the end of the day after running and your machine's hot. And I know climbing over that turbo to pour oil is not an enjoyable thing when the machine's hot. So, you get a little safety aspect too if you got to sell it to somebody.
Hell yeah, that's neat there.
What?
That's neato.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
That's
So-
the best news I've heard so far today.
When you go to install them, just throw a touch of Vaseline on here the first time. Pop it right on, and leave it. Make up your tab.
Don't put it on and then take it off because, oh, I need to move it over and make another mount. Because now you're gonna buy an O-ring.
Another O-ring.
Yeah, the O-rings are metric, so you know. And if you, I'm sure you can go match them at your local farm store if you do have an issue. But if you do see it leaking, first thing, replace the O-ring. Because you may have had them on, even those caps start leaking over time.
If somebody's removed them. Usually they don't leak. Any questions pertaining to oil?
So, 125 hours on regular oil, 250 if we're running this.
Unless you're in dirty form.
Right.
Actually, I got a question. To do an oil test, those places you can get, I can get these.
Okay.
You know, but I can't get the little pumper deal.
Uh-huh.
Aren't you supposed to actually put a tube in,
Yes.
pull the oil out?
Right.
Where do I get those little,
You could do an in-stream drain.
so let it run for a second or two? and
I-
put it
I
in
would-
there and catch it?
I would run a gallon or two out that tube and then just do an in-stream catch as long as the engine is warm. Okay? Don't do an in-stream drain if you're gonna do it full, you know, with the oil full. Because then you're not gonna get it.
You
It's
can
not
also
gonna be mixed.
get little one-time use little siphons or syringes.
You can get syringes too, but that stuff is all, you gotta think about what you're doing, okay? You're taking a tube and you're sliding it down the dipstick. How many times that dipstick been in and out? And
Set down.
set down, put back in, okay? How much dirt you actually got when you go to slide that tube down that dipstick tube? How much dirt you're actually introducing or pushing in? Yeah. So you're doing in-stream. In-stream is about the best way to do it. Any other questions pertaining to oil? We're gonna move on to crankcase ventilation. Last year, this was an annual clean. This year, every oil change. So if you're changing your oil every 125 hours, this gets clean. If you extend your oil change to 250, then this gets clean at 250 hours. On the side of this has got a vent hole. This vent is atmospheric. This diaphragm, by it moving in and out, each time that engine spools up the full engine RPM, it pulls dirt inside of here. The plug it. So, when you do that, make sure this is clean. make sure this is clean. If it's not clean, this diaphragm's not gonna move, do its job. You're gonna introduce oil droplets right into your induction system. And it's gonna continue to pass that. When you take this apart, this diaphragm, when you pull this out of here, which sits just like that, this spring will fall when you pull that cover off. That spring sits in there like that. If it doesn't fit in that pocket, you can't, to where you can't move that, okay? That's the proper way that spring is installed in there. When you take this diaphragm out, if you see oil back in here, any oil at all, the diaphragm's broken. If you see dust sitting on this side of it, the diaphragm's broken. Replace the diaphragm, we sell it. When this engine spools up, it actually pulls this diaphragm right up against this here, closes off this tube. That keeps it from picking up oil droplets and carrying it into your induction system. As soon as that engine spools up, pressure is equalized, this spring overcomes that pressure, pushes that diaphragm back, allows the engine to breathe normal through the closed loop system. All these seals in this are all reusable. If you tear one or break one, we sell a seal kit for this. They're all reusable.
When you're cleaning them, you have your oil return valve. It's a one-way reed valve down there on the bottom. Just run solvent through that. Let it flow out, clean the seat. Do not try to pry it open and clean under it, not try to push it open. You want that tension to maintain so that oil pressure, oil weight can allow it to drip. Just run some solvent through it and clean it. It goes on the bottom like that and then down into your block. Is everybody aware of where this is located on your machine? You all see it or you want to see?
With the red sitting up there.
Has that got the updated version where it don't have in this machine? Does it have the updated vortex instead of the filter in this machine?
Yeah, this is cyclonic. This is a
Oh, okay.
cyclonic system. If it's got the round dome on the lid,
Then it's the conventional.
if this lid is flat,
Uh-huh.
then it's the conventional with a filter in it.
Okay.
If it's round like that, it's a cyclonic system,
Okay.
and it's all washable. If it's got the flat one, we sell an update kit
Right.
to replace that and update this.
All right.
And what it comes with is that all the black plastic parts in there,
Uh-huh.
and
And the lid.
the lid.
Now, currently Kloss is working on making a 90-degree version of this outlet. So it comes out and up fixed. So we've had a lot of issues with where the hose bends to go into here, cracking over time. So, as soon as that is available, I'm sure parts will be notifying everybody whose machines will be affected by it and go from there if it's something that interests you. Now, with that being said and all this breather information, well, it's this, hose integrity. This is the breather hose right here. This is returns both your crankcase ventilation and your valve cover ventilation to the inlet side of your turbo. I'll pass this around. This is supposed to be a soft rubber hose. You guys can take a look at it. What time and heat has done to it.
This one I can,
Hey, can I back there?
am I there got a strong thumb or
Okay, let me back
a pretty soft hose here?
No. So it's very important that those are checked and replaced if they start getting hard, because they will crack, and in less than a day you can dust an engine. Because that'll be the primary source of air inlet, because it'll be the path of least resistance.
That's regular rubber.
You also want to inspect the hose that comes off this and goes up to your valve cover, where it joins that hose. You want to inspect that for cracks. If there's any cracks at all, even surface cracks are appearing. They're not very expensive. Order another one, replace it. While we're on hoses, you want to stay on top of all the hoses. Every time you do an oil change, check all your coolant hoses, all your turbocharger boots, all your inlet hoses, all the hoses, the two big boots that go from your air filter to the inlet side of your turbo, check those. Make sure they're on correctly. They haven't slid off or anything. All these are all wear items that you could catch before they have catastrophic failure.
Any questions? Don't forget to check your coolant hoses. This one here, somebody installed wrong. Had a clock wrong, set right next to the serpentine belt, it bounced around. That's what you don't need when you're out there and fighting the weather. You see the rain clouds coming, you're out there trying to get this stuff in, then all of a sudden, boom. Any questions?
Take a look at these. The black one is a good oil ring from a piston. The white or light shiny one is one that's been dusted. So you guys can just pass that around and see the difference in grooves. And that's why you have oil consumption. Nothing cleaning that off the cylinder wall.
While that's going around, valve adjustments. Tier 3 and Tier 4 engines, intake valve changed from 16 thousandths to 10 thousandths. The exhaust valve is still at 24 thousandths. Valve adjustments are done every 500 hours. It is imperative that you do them. Mercedes, you go for a warranty on them, they're going to want documentation of who did the valve adjustment, when it was done, in order to get any warranty at all.
Mercedes puts huge, huge marks on their valve system and the adjustments that are done on it. It is utmost importance to them. Any kind of engine issues, they will want valve adjustment. With that being said, if they put such a high price on the valve adjustments, it's not a big shop bill to send in and have a Mercedes certified guy do it. It is worth it. It's one job. Oil changes, we can teach that. Valve adjustments, we do them day in, day out, do them repeated, and there are tricks to them. There are ways that you got to pay attention to. I understand it's a cost, but it's a small price compared to the price of a new one of these in, and they can lead to catastrophic engine failure. So, with that being said, highly recommend bringing your machine into the shop for the valve adjustments.
Or get somebody out there, Mercedes tech to go out there and do it, certified tech.
And you got a list of those? For those of us that are further away?
We can find that out for you. I can get that to you. If that's a concern of yours, I can certainly get you a list. I can contact Mercedes and see if there's somebody local.
I tried doing it and I could not find a Mercedes rep to do it for me.
All right.
How many hours do you guys put on a year?
About 800 to 2,000.
Yeah. That's on each machine?
I only have one. Wish I had two.
Okay.
You're saying two valve adjustments per year, basically.
I should be doing two.
All right.
You did it.
Yep. I just did it right before it went
That
back.
was, he did it at the beginning of before I started the season. Did it at the end of that.
Right. All right. I need to look at the hour interval.
Probably about 800 hours.
Probably fewer.
No, so valve adjustments, extremely important. Extremely important.
I mean, when we did yours, we put a timer mark on it, you know, but it's still one of the critical things to make sure we're in the right stroke when we do what we do. So it's very critical. Any questions concerning valve adjustment? Cooling systems. What's proper adjustment for that fan belt? That's the fan drive belt. Awesome. Properly adjusted if you can hook a fingernail in it. No more than a 1/16 of an inch gap. If you cannot spin the pipe that's underneath that, then it's too tight. So then you have no flex in that adjustment, so you stretch the belt. If you guys walk around this side, what we're talking about, I'm gonna pass this around, but y'all take a look at it, and then let us know what you find wrong with it. Hmm? This bracket? This one? Okay. Haven't had an issue there.
Had more on the single engine 492s where they have the idler way out.
Yeah, when it was hanging way out in front. Had more issues with them bending.
Maybe that was the one that was missing.
Yeah. This is the piece of pipe. If you can spin this piece of pipe, and you can hook a fingernail in here, in between them, you have the right adjustment. No more than a 1/16 of an inch gap between a piece of pipe and this washer. That allows enough flex on the belt. Your tensioner does move. That belt happens to be the heart of your cooling system. Cools 3 things. Anybody tell me what the 3 are? Now we're cooling radiator, air to air, hydraulic fluid. There's one other person that operator's not cool. He's sitting in there in that fish bowl sweating his butt off. He's gonna be highly upset.
Do that once.
Yeah.
Let the door open.
It's-
Terrible. Boss, but
Chopping in the underwear.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. You don't realize it's so dry.
Yeah, that's a fact. So the thing is that belt is loose, it's gonna slip. As long as that belt slips, you're in a dusty environment, it's gonna create wear on that pulley. Y'all see the grooves on that pulley? Once you wear into that pulley, now the circumference has gotten smaller. That means the belt has gotten longer then. So now we can't get it to proper tension. So we start slipping that fan, everybody is going for heat. Engine, hydraulic system,
You're not getting
Air.
as much power because you're not compressing your air and cooling it.
yep. You're not cooling your air so you lose power. The operator's getting hot, so his temper's going. So that belt happens to be the biggest part. Keep that belt properly adjusted, you end up with less wear on the pulleys. And the belts last longer.
Flush or above. If your belt starts dipping down, you need to either replace your belt or check your pulleys and replace them. Now, end of the season maintenance, it's a great idea to pull this off. You have a gap in there between the face that it bolts into and the front of your crank. Dirt gets stuck in there, that's weight on your crank. Throws your crank out of balance, can reduce the life of your engine bearings. Pop this off, take the 6 bolts off, clean it good, put it back on. While you have this off, it's a great idea to check these, pull your serpentine belt off, check the bearings in here, check the surfaces for wear on your idler. Move your tensioner back and forth, make sure there's even spring pressure, you don't have a broken spring or something. Lead to belt failure, check the bearings in your tensioner. It's a great thing to do at the end of your season maintenance.
The other thing is at the end of the season, take this apart. Check that spring. I've seen belts that were properly adjusted, a good adjustment on the belt. The spring was no good. The spring was broke, and it actually spun into itself. So you didn't get the spring pressure. for the tension on the belt. If you're having a overheat problem, that'd be one thing you look at. Well, I got a good belt, pulleys are good,